We all have headed into the new normal now, as you might imagine. Employees now are working from home, and I suspect with the changes as of yesterday, that's going to continue on for a while. The problem has been that the way our technology was in the past, that didn't really move well into this new world that we're in, but yet you wanted everybody to row in that same direction. Here's a quote that I thought was interesting from Forbes.com. I know you're familiar with. After the first quarter 2020, digital transformation is no longer an option. I think a lot of us got tossed headfirst into this, and Forbes is going on to say simple digitizing that traditional process doesn't work. We need to use technologies to do things in a different and a better way. Now that's digital transformation. For example, if you've had things in paper and you just decide to start scanning, what are you going to do with them when you start scanning? And as we just worked with Growth Achievement Partners, Chris Ryan said, if you automate a bad process in paper, it's just going to get things moving faster in a bad way in the new technology. So you need to have a game plan on what you're doing and where you're going with this. So the question is, are you fully leveraging your business information? A lot of organizations out there today, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, have vast amounts of information. They're dealing with it in digital and paper form. I thought this was interesting. US office workers alone, 10,000 sheets annually of paper they're using. Multiply that by 5, 10, 20, 50 workers in your organization. That's a lot of paper to deal with. And I know what you're thinking. Your organization is really probably not any different than anybody else out there. And there's inefficiencies that have come to the forefront over the last 3 or 4 months. And it became very apparent that manual processes and everything the way they used to be were impacting productivity today. So let's talk about what document management is. And first, I want to go to there's a million terms for the very same thing here. I know you're familiar with cars. They're called autos, automobiles, SUVs, and a number of things. The same thing is true here. You'll hear enterprise content management. You'll hear document management. You'll hear a variety of things out there, but the bottom line is it's all the same thing. Somebody mute out there, please. Thank you. Okay, so keep in mind, whenever we're talking about document management, what you're really looking at
I don't really know why we can't hear.
You can't hear?
Yeah, folks, have it all the way up to that.
Yeah, do me a favor and mute, please. I'm going to mute everybody again, just in case. There we go. Beautiful. Technology is wonderful, isn't it? Anyway, let's talk about document management. As I said, it can be called any number of things out there: enterprise content management, records management. The bottom line is, how are you keeping track of your information, protecting it, and making it accessible so you can get it back again? And there are some components that are part of that. So we're going to explore these really quickly. Capturing and storing. How do you get that information all rounded up, captured, and stored in one place? And then how do you control the access and the security to that? There have to be rules that need to be put into place on that as well along the way. And then you need to index it or identify it in such a way that you get it back very easily when you go to retrieve it. Now, some other things that you want to take a look at here when it comes to document management is sharing, because a lot of people have other software, other things in place out there. You've got multiple systems in place. In fact, I just said in a webinar 2 weeks ago, they said most small business offices have 100 different systems in place. Now, you may think you don't have that many, but think about your Microsoft Office suite. And then collaborating. Because of that, there's multiple versions. They're spread across systems. You need to be able to collaborate effectively. Business intelligence, basically getting that information back when you need it to make good decisions. And finally, integration with all of those other systems that are out there so you're working in one place. Now, what's been interesting, I've been doing this close to 23 years. In the beginning, we had a lot of on-premise systems. Those have now become more of a dated technology. We're moving towards cloud-based. They're mobile-friendly. They provide integration. And here's an interesting thing that I found on Gartner. Gartner is kind of like the Nielsen's of the TV. Gartner is that to our world in document management. They have said that in the next 5 years, $1 trillion is going to be spent by IT shifting from the cloud. and on-premise over to that area. Now, they use the word disruptive forces of IT spending. I'd like to say enhancing what's going on out there. Because the beauty of cloud solutions are you can deploy them fast in a matter of just a few days, especially if you don't have a lot of complex workflows and other things. And the other advantage you have is there's nothing to load. You basically, the cloud is registered and you start with designing and putting things together. Maintenance on that, you'll be notified if there's upgrades a couple weeks ahead of time, and you have the right to say yay or nay, that's not a good time, and away it goes. Very, very different than on-premise systems that require timing for upgrades, sometimes money to do that, as far as professional services, installations, and so much more. Let's talk a little bit more about the cloud, because the beauty of this is you have all your files stored securely in one place. So everybody has rights to that, depending on the security that's put in place for that. Those team members can connect. Maybe you're going to give them the rights to view only. Certain management have the rights to delete. That can all be planned and put into place up front. But security, I would venture to say that cloud security is probably greater than what you have on your on-site server out there. I'll tell you why. It's encrypted on the way to the cloud. It's encrypted while it's sitting in the cloud. Your information is sitting in the same information silo. That's yours alone, not mixed with anybody else's. And that information is replicated across a couple of server farms. In the US, for example, we work with a software that has one on the East Coast, another one out in Iowa somewhere. And so if something happens on the East Coast, power surge, that server farm goes down, you still have all your information you can pull from Iowa. So the beauty of that is high security. So you can automate those common business practices. You all know how manual data entry goes and the human error that's fraught with that. So when you start to automate and move towards software, things can be, innovation is in play, profit is higher, customer service is improved. And where we see these areas that's being used is invoice approval, contract management, employee onboarding, so many areas. Whatever you can think of, we can work with that. And what I found interesting over the last several months has been when people started to move towards working at home in March, a lot of organizations were sending their people home and saying, hey, we need to test our VPN, virtual private network. Everybody get on at 7 o'clock on Thursday night. Let's see if the network can handle it. That's a problem. What works really well is when you're looking at software as web clients. As long as you have access to a browser from wherever you sit, you can, and have internet capabilities, obviously, you can get into the software. As long as you get past that front door where you log in and provide a password, you're in. So if the kids are driving you crazy working at home and you can get to the wireless from your car in the driveway and you got a web client, you're good to go. And what's been fun to watch over the last number of years is mobile devices, laptops. I'm not laptops. How about tablets and cell phones that now can initiate workflow? That you can route documents. Pretty much everything that you can do with that web client sitting on your workstation, you can now do with a mobile device, which is amazing. I want to show you a web client. You're looking at a web client of one of our softwares right now. On the far left is a document tray. I suspect all of you have document trays on your desk that people are, or someplace they're leaving you work to do. But the circle that just appeared there is the file cabinets. Now these are electronic file cabinets. Let me tell you about this company. It's Peters Engineering. Peggy works in the accounting department, and it's a roller coaster company. How's that for fun? Now, so she's only seeing accounting, and she's responsible for FOIA, which is Freedom of Information, for the organization, so that's all she gets to see for those particular cabinets. If she was working in HR, then she would probably only see the HR. How does she get things into the basket? She could hit that import button and bring things in that are already stored electronically out there. Scan from a document scanner. It's hardware agnostic, works with any scanner. Or you could set up some watched folders. Let me give you an example. Olivet College is one of our clients. Everybody is scanning from copiers across campus. They walk up to the copier, find the button for the document management system. They put the documents in the feeder and hit the button. Now, in their case, they've been required to put a cover sheet on the top of that. You don't necessarily have to have that, but that's what they've chosen to do. It looks at that document and goes, oh, you belong to this office. I'm going to pull the index information and store it automatically. If for some reason They put that sheet upside down, it's going to go into somebody's basket who monitors it and can fix it. Now, one of my absolute favorites is an electronic printer. How many of you out there have somebody in your office who likes to print things out just to scan them back in again? I can almost see your heads nodding from here. With an electronic printer, you hit print, but instead of picking a copier or a local printer, you choose the name of the software, electronic printer, and it will automatically put it into the document tray, or you could even create a template and have it automatically indexed and stored. And of course, drag and drop is always in play. I love annotations. This is one of my favorites because you can redact. If there's information on a document you need to share and somebody shouldn't see a social security number, for example, you can hide it where they'll never even know, because it's in white, for example, that it's been hidden. You could put notes on there. Now, keep in mind, these are an overlay. They don't change the original document. You can even create customized stamps. It might be a signature stamp. It could be scanned. It could be anything you wanted it to be to work for the organization. And when you go to share it, I bet if I said to you, okay, which one is the email? It's the envelope, of course. It will ask you, do you want this page? Do you want all of the pages in the document? And do you want these annotations to go with it? Do you want to show that redaction or the notes that you've got on there? Same thing happens with the printer as you do that as well. Let's talk about storing documents using the web client. On the left side are the index fields or ways to identify this document so you can find it again. These can all be customized. Because she's in accounting, you see what you see here, but HR would be different. Contracts probably very different as well. The image shows up on the right-hand side, and if she takes her mouse and points it across the name of the company, it automatically populated the field called Flying Tom. And if she takes her mouse again and runs it across to invoice, it will automatically fill in document type. Now, I want to add on this, it has to be machine created. It won't work with handwritten documents, but it stops that human error and it makes it as fast as you can slide that mouse along. You are indexing. We've also talked about automated indexing before, so you have a lot of choices there. Let's talk about finding it when you've got it stored. Now, here's the fun part. She works in accounting, so those are the things that she sees, but if she's not sure where that information is stored, she can search across multiple file cabinets, and it will tell her when it finds it what file cabinet it happens to be in. And you'll notice down below here, she has a variety of options on how she can search. If she's not sure, she could put an asterisk on the end of that and it'll bring back everything in a wildcard search that starts with FLY. She might want to do date range searches. There's a variety of ways to go about this. You don't have to know exactly what you're looking for, but when she does hit search, what comes back is a result list of everything based on what she was looking for. And what I love best about this is you'll notice it tells you that there's a variety of things out there in document types. So if she's saying, you know what, I'm really looking for the contract, that's the only one she needs to open up. And one of my favorites is called full text searching. And what that is looking within the contents of the machine created document looking for information. Where I find this most often used is board minutes, ordinances for municipalities, any place where you've got a lot of information and you don't or can't index everything. With full text searching, you can do wildcard. You can look for exactly a name of something, a word, a phrase, a sentence, however you want to do it. And what happens is that when you say you're looking for something, it's going to highlight what it brings back. In this case, I put the word steel in. It's a roller coaster company. So what happened was it showed in red that it found steel there. And as it moved through, you'll notice there's yellow highlights other places. This makes searching so much easier, especially when you're dealing with large pieces of information that are multi-pages that you need to get information from. Also, if you're looking at, in this case, a delivery note for this particular organization, and you say, you know what, I wonder what else is stored out there in the software for this, what you can do is click the button at the bottom down there that says related order documents, and what comes back is what you see on the left-hand side. And it brings back everything she needs to see, and she's going, okay, I really want to take a look at that lease contract again, and she could open that up and take a look at that as well. A lot of flexibility when it comes to searching. And I know version control is one of those areas that's always been interesting. I worked with an organization many years ago, They had the biggest folder within a folder within a folder structure I've seen. I swear there was 40,000 folders in there. And they all used 6-digit numbers to identify prints. The problem they ran into was they often manufactured the wrong version of a part, which cost the company incredible amounts of money in doing that. When you're working with a software solution, you can have it automatically save the most current version. So when you do a search, that's what it brings back. But if you need to see a history, as you see here, it will show you the history behind the documents that are there, and you can go back and look at the older ones there. So that's version control. Let's talk about the mobile devices out there. As I mentioned earlier, there's so much that you can do with these, from completing forms. We were working with a company who went into people's homes and needed to take orders. They were doing it all on their mobile phones using a form created in the software. Anything from negotiations, vendor support, even taking expense reports where you can take a picture of a receipt and upload it into the system. Let me give you a hot tip of the day. This is a freebie. It's called PaperScan app. It is designed to automatically trigger, take a picture of whatever you're looking at, a receipt, a document, and even clean it up, like distortions, paper edges, that sort of thing, and you can upload it into the system. You'll see on the screen here, you can find it at the Apple App Store and Google Play. It's owned by DocuWare, the software company, but you don't have to have that software license to use it. It's free. And let's talk about optimizing your business process and getting rid of risk. When you go to capture information, it can come from anywhere. It might be scanners. It might be a watch folder coming off your copier. Any number of places that information can come from. What's going to happen is you're going to speed up your business process and streamline things. And it's important that the software offer you flexibility, so as your organization changes, so does the software with you. I'm going to tell a little story on a coworker many years ago on email. This person had between 10 and 12,000 unopened emails in her business inbox. The thought process was, well, I don't want to open them because they could have a virus or something attached to it, but it might be something that I need, so I don't want to get rid of it. Now, if you were looking for a piece of business email, how would you like to search through that inbox? That's a problem. The other issue with email inboxes, and the statistic I read recently was 68% of everything is stored there for an organization, is if somebody is not available, that's their private email. How do you get in there and get the information that you need? So we're going to talk about how to store email in a document management solution. Also, electronic signatures are now very important with where we've just come the last few months, and they are legally binding, which is the other added advantage. We'll explore that a little bit further. We're back looking at the web client again, and I wanted to talk about capturing information. I already mentioned the import and the scan, that you could bring things in that way, as well as from the copiers, but I wanted to talk about something called intelligent indexing. Let me give you an example. We were working with a management group for large apartment complexes. You can imagine the receipts they get in for Lowe's, Menards, any kind of repair and plumbing, and nobody wants to index every single one of those. So what we suggested, recommended, was they scan it into a special document tray. It goes to the cloud, it looks at that and goes, oh, you're a Lowe's receipt. I've seen you before. I'm going to pull the index information and automatically store it for you. So what happens is it's a learned process. You'll notice the green little boxes on the left-hand side. Those have gone to the cloud, come back, and has basically said, hey, I pulled everything. I've seen this one before. Yellow means I got most of it. I need some help. You need to take your mouse and point to me on the document where the information is so I'll know where it's at next time. And it could be red if it's brand new and never seen it before. So the beauty of this is that you can scan in all those odds and ends of whatever it is you're looking for, help it learn where the information is on there, and then it'll automatically be indexed so you can store it very, very quickly. It has a lot of flexibility. That's one of my absolute favorites. Let's talk about email storage. Now, you can pick and choose what you store related to the business. The beauty of this is when you do store it in the software, now it's connected to every other document out there related to that particular subject matter. It might be a contract, could be an invoice, whatever it is. So when a search is done, it brings back not only the email, it might bring back packing slips, anything else related to that. And you'll notice on the left-hand side over there, Peggy has a choice of what she wants to choose for templates for storing it. If she was working in HR, she'd select the employee one. She could also take an invoice that came in via an email and send it automatically into storage into the file cabinet. What happens when she chooses that is you'll see the index fields pop up. They're already populated. And the beauty of that is that she can change anything she needs to, hit store, and off they go. Now, if she's in her email and needs to search something in the document management system, she can do that by just putting in information here, searching for attachments. And I might add that when you store an email, the attachments automatically store with it, but maybe the attachments all that she's been interested in and searching for, she can bring that back as well. Now, you heard me talk about collaboration and working with third-party software out there. Any third-party software can be worked with. What's happened here in this case, a screenshot's been taken of the accounting software that Peggy works with. And what we said was, when we took the screenshot is we drew boxes around certain areas on that screen. In this case, it was the first and last name. And buttons were put at the top that you see there. In this case, she's going to hit the contact button, but she could also go searching for any invoices that are currently in process or invoices that have been paid out already. But when she hits that contact button, and by the way, these can sit anywhere on the screen, and for anybody in IT, this is a screen scrape of the information. It's not internal. It is looking at what's on that screen. It's going to bring back a result list of everything stored out there. So she didn't need to leave the third-party software to go to her document management system to find the information. It was as easy as a click of a button. And I want to add with third-party too here, we have the ability to pull information from another software to populate the index fields. We can send information from the document management system off to that third party to start processes moving through there. There are so many things that we can do to collaborate and bring together all the software that you have out there so you're only dealing with one process, which is nice. Let's talk a little bit about digital signatures. These have become very important over the last few months, and the important thing is they're legally binding and they do meet current security requirements. We do work with a number of signature providers like Validated ID or DocuSign, and these can be collected as they move through a workflow to make it more efficient as things are moving forward. And security can be set at any level you want. It can be extremely tight for that digital signature. You design it the way that you would like it to be. Let's talk about workflow. This is one of my more interesting stories as we were getting started back in March. One of the organizations we were working with had a process for invoices. The invoices came in, hard copy or emailed. They printed them out, took the hard copy to mailboxes in the office, put them in the individual mailboxes for the people. So when they walked in, they would grab it out of their mailbox and approve it and walk it back up to the folks that paid the bills. Do you see a problem with that when we remote it in? Exactly. So that's where workflow comes in because it's all digital. Every employee can see the workflow. They can be assigned tasks either via email or a special task list that we'll talk about. And at a glance, management has an idea of what's going on out there, what's being paid, what's in process, and so much more. And it's been interesting over the years that I've done this. In the early years, it was store and retrieve. Now it's workflow and forms. Forms can be customized and created to fit your needs, and when somebody hits submit, it can start it into a workflow, start a process moving, and do so much more. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Let's talk about task list and workflow first. If you'll see at the top here on the left-hand side, that Peggy here has a list of things that she's responsible for, and if I said to you, tell me what she needs to do, you probably are sitting there thinking, well, the things with the yellow buttons and they have the numbers in it. And you're exactly right. At a glance, Peggy is notified as to what she needs to do. And if she opens it up, she will get her task list. Now, because Peggy's in management at any given time, she can look out there, see what's moving through the system, who's done things, where the bottlenecks are. In fact, you can even put a timeline on critical information and say, if this person hasn't looked at this in 24 hours, notify me so I can do something about it. Or better yet, if they're out of the office, automatically send it off to this other person for approval. So when she assigns a cost center, she opens it up, the invoice shows up on the other side, And down below, she can put in the necessary information to send it into the workflow. And I might add at this point, if this happens to be, which it is, a phone bill, and it needs to be divided among departments, she can even send it off in several different directions for those different departments to approve the invoice as it goes. So it has a lot of flexibility. Let's talk about forms. These can be as creative as you want to be. I was working with a school district who had several thousand teachers that needed to submit travel requests to go to conferences and different things. You can imagine the paperwork involved with that. And especially if it was out of state, it had to have special approval from somebody else, and away it went. Create a form for them that's put on their website. The teachers go to the website, click on that form, it pops up, they fill it, they hit submit, and it automatically sends it into the workflow. One of the really interesting places we see this is with new employees. You've hired somebody, and as you hire them, you send them a link, either in an email, probably be the best way to do that, saying welcome aboard. Click on this link, and the employee enrollment form pops up. They then fill out all the required information. Now, you can make some of these mandatory, that they can't get past Social Security number, for example. Before they hit submit, it'll tell them to go back and finish it up. But what happens when they submit this form is that it automatically completes their W-4, the I-9, the emergency contact information, and stores it all in the software. So a quick search for this Peter Strom can bring back everything. I'm just giving you two quick samples, but there's a variety of things that you can do with forms. They are amazing. So let's talk about document management software benefits. We need to talk about reducing that burden of all that excessive paper, and electronic information is overloaded as well. So when you implement a document management solution, you've lowered your cost, you've got less hassle, you spend less time, your staff does, searching for information that's scattered across the across the organization. One of the stories I heard early on was somebody made 4 trips to the office in one day to get everything they needed because it was in paper. And moving paper is slow. We all know that. So with a DMS, you can streamline that internally and externally as you need to share information. And better compliance and security. You can control who's got access to the documents, what they see, can they delete, can they share, what can they do with it? And you're preparing for the worst case scenarios. You know, I hate to go down this road, but I can tell you from personal experience, I worked for a company that they didn't call it a tornado that day, but it peeled back the roof on our office and the front desk looked like a waterfall. Thank goodness we had a document management solution in place. We were up and running the next day, but you never know when things could get interesting in your office with whatever might happen there. So it gives you quick and easy integration with applications and other platforms out there. As I mentioned, there's a lot of different software in place. And if I said to you, what does your third-party software do well? What would you change about it? Odds are that's where document management software comes in to enhance it, bring it all together so you have one solution taking care of everything. All those headaches of working across multiple systems. And it improves productivity and efficiency in key business areas. You know, if you don't make a change, things are going to continue on the same. Now, here's some statistics that I found interesting from the Information Management Benchmark Report, Intelligent Information Management Benchmark Report. Keep in mind, these were 2019. My guess is these statistics are vastly higher now in 2020, but 86% of the people said they have trouble finding the information they need to do their job because it's scattered all over the place. 83% said they had to recreate a document because they couldn't find it. Oh, and guess what? When they do find it, now you've got multiple versions running around. And then 65% said that they had challenges getting things reviewed, approved, people to sign off, much like the company, the organization that I mentioned, that said that was doing everything in paper approvals. The key here now is you need to future-proof your organization. I'm sure you've discovered some areas over the last 2 or 3 months that you say, you know what, we need to make some changes. We need to look at improving what's going on there so down the road we're ready for whatever may come as we move forward. And that's where applied imaging stands tall. because we have a variety of software solutions available for you. It's not one software has to fit whatever needs you have. What our team does, sit down with you, do it via a conference call, whatever you're comfortable with. We'll do a discovery talking about what it is you're looking for, what do you want to achieve, where do you want to start, that sort of thing. And we'll then talk about what the best solution is for you. It might be DocuWare software, OnBase by Highland SciGen, and we carry Canon scanners as well that we service and provide on site. What's been interesting is some of the things with scanners nowadays. We got a call early on, and somebody said, do you have a scanner that will kill viruses? I had to say, okay, tell me what you're doing with this thing, because in 20 some years of scanners, I've never seen one that will kill viruses. It was a school district. They needed to send forms out. They were giving tablets to all of their students, and they needed a form signed and sent back to the main office. They were concerned over the fact that the virus might travel with it. What we suggested was taking a picture with the camera on their phone or using paper scan that I mentioned earlier and doing it that way. But we have small scanners that'll work in your home offices all the way up to large production units. And the software, we can work with whatever your needs are, from HR to automation of your AP, workflows, whatever your heart desires. We've yet run into something we really couldn't do something with. So please challenge us. Let's talk about backfile conversion. While we've all been working from home and other things, the piles of paper and information are still collecting back at the office. And let's talk about a couple of ways to deal with that. I wanted to kind of point out also that Applied Imaging offers backfile conversion. If you are a nonprofit or a municipality, we have special state contract pricing that we can take advantage of for you. There's financing available, including staff to scan it for you if you don't have staff on hand. But when you take a look at that backfile conversion, there are 3 ways to look at it. The first is a complete conversion. What I would start there with is go day forward and then go back into 2019, 2018, and then go from there inching back in. Don't start in 1905. That's a rabbit you'll never catch. Odds are whatever information you need is going to be in those recent years that you've started scanning. Day forward, you just decide everything there is going to disappear off the retention schedule eventually, and we're going to do day forward scanning and moving everything into the software solution. And scan on demand, the best example I can give you of that is you haven't been to the doctor in 10 years. They pull your paper file out of the storage and they now scan it in and put you in the system. Scan on demand. So I want to tell you some really exciting things. We've got your back, and I bet there are things you don't know about Applied Imaging. Did you know we have Shred Hub, where we can come in, set up bins, take care of things when they've fallen off the retention schedule, dispose of them for you. If you're working from home, we have secure bags that we can drop off on your doorstep, pick up, or have you drop off at our office. We've already talked about the backfile conversion that we do for you. Did you know we have temperature measurement kiosks with facial recognition? Now, as everybody goes back to work with our restrictions being lifted yesterday, you're going to want to do temperatures as people walk in the building. And we have the kiosks to do that. So talk to your reps about that. It's an exciting new opportunity with Applied that we can help you out with. Document scanners, we've already talked about, in document management, but did you know we have PrintSmart? What that is our managed print services group. They can take care of all those small printers, whatever the brand is, provide supplies and take care of everything, right down to NetSmart Plus. We've got the IT staff on hand to do all of your IT work for you that you might need, from server all the way to the workstations. It's an amazing process that they have. And of course, our multifunction machines that you know us for. We have so many areas that we can help you with. So I know what you're thinking. Where do we start on all of this? Here's where you start. Review your needs. Take a look at the area in your organization with the greatest pain. Where do you want to start there? And then do an inventory. What needs to be stored? What have we got in hard copy? What electronic information needs to go in there? Maybe some email that's out there. Get those people who are involved in the day-to-day processes, because they'll tell you and share with you things that you may not be aware of. Take a look at your retention schedules. Are there things that are going to drop off in a year or two that you may not want to deal with and just let them disappear? Who needs access and how often? That's going to be important. And you need to know there are two types of licenses for software. One's concurrent, meaning it sits out there floating, and whoever gets it first can have access to the software with the rights in place, of course. And then when done, it goes back for the next person, or named, meaning those power users that need to have access all the time. And we'll help you work through all of that. The best part is secure consultation or an estimate. I think you're going to be extremely surprised at how low the cost is to get into a solution and how fast it can be deployed as you start forward. So with that,